So we're back here on the Duncan Duo Show. Mike Corrigan with Cross Country Mortgage. I'm Andrew Duncan of the Duncan Duo. We're talking about homeowners association nightmares. So as a real estate broker that's sold thousands of homes, over $1 billion in real estate, I can tell you that there are some great HOAs out there, and then there's some really, really bad ones. And when you're buying into an HOA community, you're not just buying a home, you're basically co-investing and putting the decisions about the value of your home and the decisions of your neighborhood in other people's hands. And so me personally, I've lived in HOA communities. I won't ever again. Just not an HOA person. I don't like people telling you can't park this car in a driveway, you can't put a basketball hoop in the driveway. I mean, I bought a house for, built a house for freedom. I don't want somebody telling me what I can and can't do.
Right.
So the reality is, though, they are needed.
Yep.
In some communities, because you have people that won't follow the rules, that will just be sloppy and then pull the values down for everybody. So it's kind of an ebb and flow. So there are times when an HOA becomes really important because they're attempting to keep the values in the neighborhood up, but there are other times where they make decisions that make absolutely no business or financial sense and cause problems for the values in the neighborhood. For example, I remember not long ago there was a condo community that decided on a whim they were going to stop allowing rentals in the community. The problem with that was that a lot of the units that were selling to investors that would rent them out. And when you eliminate that from the buying pool, the values drop because a lot of people didn't necessarily want to live there as their primary residence. But they did it because the 6 really informed people on the board, really informed people on the board, decided they didn't want to deal with tenants anymore because apparently, in their mind, tenants were just not as good of a quality of a person. So they made that decision and drastically dropped values in their neighborhood. But those 6 people that were probably never going to move and had probably had very little real estate experience or business experience in their life, they simply raised a hand in a meeting once and somebody said, okay, we'll let you do this thing.
Right.
And again, not all HOAs are this way. There's some HOAs out there that are run like a well-oiled machine that have business people running them that are sharp and savvy. But when you're buying into an HOA community, it's something I strongly encourage you to do. Know who's on that board, know what kind of decisions they make, look at the meeting notes, go to a meeting, because, I feel like every week on Facebook I see someone I know complaining about decisions their HOA is making, and they probably could have learned some of that ahead of time.
Yeah, I was going to say, make sure before going into it, you read the rules of the HOA, make sure it's something you're going to be able to deal with or tolerate with in the rules. And also, you can get involved. You can run for a board seat and everything else to try and be a voice and be an influence on some of that if that's your desire.
So some of the HOA nightmares are things like having to repaint your house because you didn't get your paint color approved.
Right.
Having to take down a basketball hoop. I remember I lived in an HOA once, and literally, I feel like there are some communities where the people that live there, they don't really have a lot to do. So they just drive around and look for people to file complaints on. Like,
Send
your
notices.
tree branches touch the... I would get stuff in the mail. It's like, are you kidding me?
Right.
Like, one of my tree branches touched the roof, so you're... Like, I get, like, if I haven't mowed the yard in a month, and I got cars up on jack stands and stuff, but literally one of my tree branches is touching the roof. You spent the time to send me a letter, and I pay those HOA fees to basically pay to have that stuff done because of my tree. And then another one where we had a company car, and we were having it repaired. We were taking it to shop in the morning. We literally parked it at 7 o'clock at night in our driveway and left at 8 o'clock in the morning. And we had a complaint letter in like 3 days. Like, do you not have anything better to do with your time than to drive around and file complaints for silly nonsense? But that's a reality. So know what you're getting into.
Yep.
If you are buying in a deed restricted or HOA run community, know what you're getting into. And don't blame anyone other than yourself when you don't do your due diligence to find out what kind of things happen in that community, what kind of rules there are. But there are great things about HOAs, like I said. There's some communities where it's much needed. But there are some communities where it's just run like the Gestapo and you have people on a power trip that are making decisions that don't make sense.
Yeah, there was an article.
Just like anything, you get the good with the bad.
There was an article I was reading this week out there on social media too that a lot of, they create Facebook groups and everything else, and sometimes that information, it's anybody can post there, so it's wrong.
Right, and they see, oh, this is the HOA community for let's just use Carrollwood, even though there isn't really
Right.
that's like a bunch of different HOAs, but let's just say it's the HOA community for Carrollwood, and some person that lives there posts something,
Right.
people think it's fact, and it's not. So you got to go to the source. You got to go to the HOA itself and get it from them, and not from someone else. I think another one is, I've seen HOAs that kind of make rules and make decisions that don't follow their own bylaws. It's like, did you guys read like the stuff that talks about the HOA rules and regulations?
Right.
The decision you just made doesn't interact with that.
Yep.
It completely contradicts it. Like, so again, kind of going back to you really need to do your due diligence when you're buying in an HOA community. There are decisions they can make that can wreck your home value, that can make your life a nuisance, and at the same time, they can also be really wonderfully run and have people that are smart and savvy and are protecting the values in the neighborhood, are making good, smart business decisions. They're doing the best that they can for a massive amount of people to try and put things in place to protect the community, to protect the look of it, to protect values. Just sometimes they may go a little too far, and you got to make sure that you're comfortable with that before you move into one of those neighborhoods.
For sure.
All right, well, we're wrapping up. Thank you so much for tuning in.